Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Learning from the Legends. I'm Brandy McGrath-Combs, Membership Manager with the National Auctioneers Association. Thank you for joining us. Learning from the Legends is a new free educational series produced by the NAA to share the professional experience and knowledge of some of the association's foremost experts and industry veterans. We're excited to be joined today by Sammy L. Ford, CAI. Sammy is a broker, principal auctioneer, and realtor with Ford Brothers, Inc. Auctioneers, which recently celebrated more than 50 years in the auction business. This company specializes in commercial and residential real estate, farm, estate, and personal property auctions in the South Central Kentucky region. Sammy is a past Kentucky Auctioneers Association president and was inducted into the NAA Hall of Fame in 1994. Thank you for joining us today, Sammy.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I look forward to this.
Let's start with your early days in the auction business. Looking back, is there anything you wish you had known at the beginning of your career?
Yes, I wish I'd known how tough it was going to be to get started. I was a first-generation auctioneer. Had no one to really to teach me, and it was we had some, I guess you'd say, tumultuous times getting started, and I can remember thinking, man, I'm going to break through. I'm going to get this sale. And I'd look and a competitor would have it. Very, frustrating, disappointing. I learned that you got to be able to handle rejection. And so those are some things that I wish somebody would kind of have told me early on. But I also learned something else. Persistence pays off. You can't give up. You can't quit. You got to move right on, even though there are some roadblocks in the way. And so I guess that if someone would have helped me a little bit, who knows, with some of those things that I was going to face early on, perhaps I would have looked for something else. So maybe it's a good thing they didn't, because I may have been in something else besides the auction business, which I love.
What was the moment you knew you had chosen the right career for you?
Oh, that's a tough question. I guess the satisfaction. Well, I went to college. My plan was to go on to law school and be an attorney. I never did get there. I'd gone through ROTC in college and went to the Army. Of course, I married while I was in college. We had a baby, and I never did make it to law school. But I started doing some little old, I would refer to them as nightly junk auctions, and I'm trying to get, just to get my foot in the doors of places. And I guess you just have a sense of accomplishment when you're able to get up on the block and sell something that somebody in the audience wants and see them bidding on it. And I really guess that I learned that this is what I wanted to do when I was doing those little nightly auctions, because number one, I enjoyed it. It was, it was so much fun. And the thing about that, I made so many contacts back at that time that even in later years still have a sphere of influence with some of those people that helped me get started back at that time. So I guess that was the time that I really knew, doing those little nightly auctions, I guess referred to as junk auctions, I knew this is what I wanted to do.
Now, a lot has probably changed since the beginning of your career. What do you think is the biggest adaptation you've had to make since you become an auctioneer?
Well, there's so many. I wouldn't know where to start. I guess that probably the introduction of internet auctions and online auctions. I'm an old timer. Like we've been, just celebrated our 50th year in the business, and I would never have dreamed that I our company would be doing online auctions. I never dreamed when we started that we'd be doing computer clerking. There's been so many changes and upgrades to the profession since the 1960s when I started. But probably the biggest change would be the introduction of online internet auctions and the technological advances that have been made in the last few years, even in the auction industry.
One of the things that new auctioneers always seem to struggle with is finding new business. Do you have any tips that you can share with industry newcomers when it comes to finding new clients, or for contract auctioneers would be new employers?
Well, yeah, I do have some advice. I give this advice a lot of times to young auctioneers getting started. I don't want to be negative, but what I find is a lot of the young auctioneers don't want to pay the price. What do I mean by that? They don't want to pay the price. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to, work like I did when we started in the junks. They want, start out on top. It doesn't work that way. I think that, and if you even to work for free if you have to get your foot in the door and get started, persistent. Don't ever give up. Even though you're told, no, we don't need you, keep going back. Sometime somebody's going to be sick, somebody's not going to be able to make it, you're going to have an opportunity. There's that guy that kept coming, I'm going to call him. Persistence. I guess that, well, there's a lot of times I just wanted to give up in my mind, but I couldn't let myself. I had, like I said, I was married, and on that we had a child. I couldn't give up, had to move on. And that the biggest, I've been told no so many times that, and I thought, well, it's over. But just because somebody tells you no, that's not the end of the story. You got to come back. You got to keep plugging along, as we say here in Kentucky. You got to just keep plugging along. And opportunity sometimes will create itself, but you've got to make it. And I just don't give up. Be persistent. Keep going back. If you have to work for free to get your foot in the door, work for free to get your foot in the door. Do more. And when you get your foot in the door, do more than anybody else around you, whatever it is. I mean, be busy. Make it happen.
Now, of course, as we all know, not everything's going to go perfect when it comes to a deal or with an auction. What is a time where you had something major go wrong, and how were you able to overcome that?
Well, I could probably write a book on that. There's so many things that could, so many things that can go wrong. Let me think for just a minute. Sure. Well, a simple thing. You get ready to start and your PA system doesn't work, what do you do? I mean, I had that to happen just recently. We always try to take a backup, get the backup out, the backup system doesn't work. What do you do? Well, I do what we did when I first started. I continued with the auction and just bellowed it out from the bottom of my diaphragm and made it happen until we got the PA system working. That's a minor thing. We've had some major things happen. We advertise an auction at Absolute Auction. The seller signed an Absolute Auction contract. We get to the auction the day of the sale, and they say, we've decided we don't want to make it Absolute Auction. An auctioneer has got to be they've got to be a problem solver. They also got to be quick thinkers. You don't have a week to think about, how am I going to handle this? You got to make a decision. You got to stick with it. And so I've been confronted with that. So what do? I get the people aside. I tell them, hey, look, here's the contract you signed. This has got to be an absolute auction. It's going to sell to the high bidder, and that's the bottom line. We've had people then to acquiesce and okay, that's fine, yeah, I did. Then we've had others say, no, I'm not going to do it. And so what do you do then? Well, you cannot force someone to sign a sales and purchase contract after you can't make them. Been there, done that. You can't make them. So what do you do? Well, at a situation like that, you have to change the terms on the ground and apologize. Tell the people, look, folks, this is advertised as an absolute auction. We got here this morning. Mr. and Miss Seller say they're not going to do it. I apologize. We have two choices. We can cancel the auction altogether, or we can make it with a reserve. And we have chosen to make it with reserve. And in the state of Kentucky, as with a lot of states where there's license laws, you can do that. Do I recommend doing that? No, don't want to do that, but you get in situations where you have to make quick decisions, and that's sometimes what you have to make. It's not a nice thing to say, but all sellers don't tell you the truth, and they play games with you, and you've got to kind of learn to separate the wheat from the chaff and move on. But that's a couple of things that come to my mind. I can remember early on in my career, I had an auction, and it was a divorce situation. There were a lot of children involved. Most of the children are siding with the mother. One was siding with the father, and we sold the farm. We were selling farm machinery. We were down to everything, down to a hog, and we were selling that hog, and the two of the people began to fight. We had to break a fight up. So you run into there's never a dull moment in the auction business. You never know what you're going to face, and you just got to, the Boy Scout motto, be prepared. You got to be prepared and be able to be a decision maker and bring some kind of resolution to the problem at hand.
When students first come out of auction school, they're always excited about their bid call. But what other skills do you think are necessary for them to really work on honing in those early stages of their career?
Well, bid calling's important, and I'm not trying to minimize that, but there are other things just as or more important. Your communication skills, for example, how you relate to people. You can be the best bid caller in the world, but if you can't go out and secure an auction, that's not going to help you a bit. I think a lot of young auctioneers miss the boat in that they are good bid callers. I think there's a difference between an auctioneer, a good auctioneer, and a good bid caller. There's some auctioneers that are good bid callers as well. But there are some bid callers that I would say they're not the best auctioneers. And I've heard some great chants by people who never made the cut. When I was talking about never made the cut, never did any auction business, and so I think that the communication skills probably just as important as the chant, or even more so. How you relate to people. Can you go to that banker? Can you go to that attorney and present a case of why they should hire you as their auctioneer? That's critically important, and I'd put it right up at the top of the things of most importance.
You just talked a little bit about the difference between an auctioneer and a bid caller. What do you think what makes an auctioneer an auctioneer? What makes them more than just a bid caller?
Okay, I think I kind of touched on that. I think that what makes an auctioneer instead of a bid caller is that his rapport with the people. how he conducts himself professionally in a crowd, or even on an individual basis. Like I said a minute ago, with the attorneys and with bankers and those people that I call decision makers, it's very important that they be able to communicate well with them in a professional manner. And so and with the crowd, you have some excellent bid callers, but maybe they condescend to the crowd. Maybe they don't treat the crowd. Maybe they're rude. They don't treat the buying crowd with respect. But gosh, they may have a great chant, but they forget, I think, sometimes that they're working with the public, and they've got to be gracious. They got to be kind. They got to be firm, but and they have to have a rapport. And so I'd say a good auctioneer has what, in my opinion, what I think makes a good auctioneer is one that has a good rapport with the seller as well as with their buying public.
Very nice. As you look back at your career, Sammy, what are some of the ways the NAA has helped you?
Well, first of all, let me say that I would never have, and we're in a rural area in Kentucky. Back in the 60s, the county where our flagship office is was the 27th poorest county in the nation. Didn't know if we could ever make a living here or not. Things have changed, since that. But I first went to a state convention, Kentucky Auctioneers Convention in Louisville, and I met some people there. Some people that seemed like they really cared about young auctioneers and wanted to help, and they did. And some of my mentors, when I didn't have anyone to talk to, I didn't have a father or uncle in the business or whatever, I would call some of these gentlemen, and they would help me. Well, they would tell me about the National Auctioneers Association. I didn't know it existed. I found out about it. I joined the National Auctioneers Association, went to my first convention in Dallas, Texas, probably 1971, somewhere in there. I can't remember. I know I was in the Army at the time at summer camp reserves at Fort Polk, Louisiana, and I left there and went over to Dallas, and my wife and little boy met me there. That changed my life. I met people there that just were willing to share, learn new ideas. I heard things that, and I think what it did for me was to give me a competitive edge to come back. I didn't know anything about dividing land and selling parcels of land. I didn't know how to do that. Came back, began to do that, began to have some success doing that. I didn't understand back at that time about absolute and reserve and all those kind of things. I learned. The NAA is just, well, I can't say enough about it. If an young auctioneer wants to be successful and wants to accelerate their profession, they need to be involved in NAA. Just the people you meet and talk to in the hallways and all. Every year I get new ideas. And boy, particularly in the last few years with online auctions, met people who, and I'd just aggravate them. I honestly would aggravate them because I wanted to know how they did this and how they did that, and they shared it with me. And that's what I found about the NAA. People were willing to share. It has been a great experience. I would recommend it 100%, 110%. It's been a great experience, and I'm so thankful. I don't think that, honestly, the auction profession probably has the highest mortality rate of any profession going. And I might have, had I not had the NAA to guide me, I might have been in those that succumbed and never made it. But thank goodness that I did have the NAA, and it's been a great experience for me.
You also hold the CAI designation. That is definitely one of the ways a lot of young auctioneers get involved after the first couple of years in the industry, and I know that's a great place for building relationships with other people. Do you still stay in contact with the CAI students that took the class with you, or how have those connections helped you?
Well, the same way with the NAA. I found when the CAI that you had some auctioneers who wanted to I guess advance even a little bit more. They didn't want just the BS. They wanted the master's degree and so forth. And so that's the reason I went to CAI. Yeah, I still have contacts, learned some things. You know, my son, who attended CAI, of course, much later than I remember him one day. He got a nursery to sell at auction. We hadn't sold a nursery. All the trees and all the plants and all, you know, didn't even know what the names of them were. Guess what? He called a friend of his that met at CAI that specializes in those and found out what to do, where to advertise, and as a result of that, a successful sale. I did I had the same thing happen with one of my classmates was from California, and he sold a lot of salvage and so forth. And gosh, many years ago now, I went to CAI in 1981, and he would help me. I got an auction of tow trucks and wreckers and all. I didn't know there was any publications that you could advertise. Called Ken, and he gave me names of those publications. I could so I know where to advertise. Had a very successful auction, but it just could go on and on. I've got some lifelong friends that met at the CAI. We've and in fact we rode together. Hack Ayers from Tennessee, B.G. Dunnington from Monticello, Kentucky. Just innumerable amount of influence that all those individuals have had over the years. It's a great experience. Any of our new auctioneers that come on board, after they've been with us a couple of years, we recommend strongly that they go to the CAI program.
And finally, Sammy, as you look back at your career, what do you think is the biggest lesson you've learned?
I think that I heard about a gentleman, and I can't remember his name, but he was out in Texas back when some of the oil rush came. He didn't have a great deal of education, but he had been highly successful in the oil. Fact is, he became a multimillionaire, maybe billionaire, and the University of Texas Business School invited him to come and teach or come and speak to one of their business classes. And he accepted the invitation. He went, and he told that class that there's 3 words that I can give you today that will make you successful. And they were, of course, on the edge of the seat wanting to know what those 3 words were. And he said these 3 words, and then some. And they looked, kind of puzzled. He said, do everything you promise and then some. And I think that as in the auction profession, that's one thing I've learned. Don't overpromise. It's better to underpromise and overdeliver. Do what you say you're going to do, and and then some. And I think you'll have a successful career, and and a blessed career.
Any final words you want to share with us, Sammy?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, and I hope that, if there's any young auctioneer that they ever want to give me a call, I'd be happy to act as a mentor or help them in any way. I've done that a lot over the years. I've called others that have been around, and it's just been invaluable. And I'm here. I'm willing. I'm still working. I'm not. Although I'm 70, I'm not retired yet. Not going to, I guess, for a while. But I'll make time to talk if anyone wants to have any questions.
Thank you again for your time, Sammy. We appreciate your leadership over the years and your insight.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, you're very welcome. Before we end today's session, a couple of closing notes. We'll be back next month with a new installment in the Learning from the Legends series. Keep an eye on auctioneers.org and auctioning news as these videos become available. Thank you again for taking part in NAA's Learning from the Legends. Have a great day.